Welcome to Ask the Edmonds Cop. I'm Teresa Whipple and Sergeant Shane Hawley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we're going to talk some more about some of the big picture issues that police are facing.
So not traffic.
Not traffic.
A month off from traffic?
Yes, but we'll get back to it.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get
yes.
back to traffic.
So send those questions in when you have them, and we'll eventually get back. So, you know, when we talk about some of the bigger issues related to homelessness and other crisis situations that police officers deal with on a regular basis, how is that affecting kind of the way officers are trained and how they approach their jobs? There's something that you had told me about crisis intervention training that you're going through, right?
Yes, and that is a state mandate, actually. We call it CIT training. I know how you love the acronyms.
Yes, I do.
So if I fall back into that, you'll have to forgive me. Crisis intervention training, and that has been kind of a nationwide hot topic, and that is how, and not just from a mental health standpoint, that is a big component of it, but really looking at why are people in crisis, and it could be mental health, it could be homelessness, it could be a variety of issues. Maybe they just lost their job. You know, there's a whole spectrum of things and that put people in crisis, and we get called to those situations. So it's really kind of a big picture. Hey, let's isolate the problem, figure out what's causing the crisis, and then how can we solve it short term, and then also really plugging them into resources on a long-term basis.
Right. And I know that that's something that some of the cities in South Snohomish County have been talking about. I think you and I were talking about even at the Edmonds City Council, they had the Linwood City Council president come and talk about what Linwood is doing and Everett is doing in terms of addressing some of the homeless issues that are affecting so much of what police deal with, and just kind of doing some more of that social work if you were, you know, if it were with
Yeah,
that
in fact,
kind of work.
Everett has a social worker, you know, coming out
Right.
on a routine basis now and actually going out with officers and talking to the homeless community and figuring out if they can get them plugged into resources that can get them off the streets.
Right, right. And I'm sure that's a mental shift for you as an organization, because in general, police officers kind of have, I think, been trained to, you know, respond to calls and then, you know, move on to the next and see what you can do to fix things short term, right?
Yeah.
But this is a bigger picture issue.
It is, and talking about kind of, you know, going from call to call and just bouncing from one to the next, you know, historically, we've had a hard time dealing with a lot of the mental health issues. And, you know, if we get called somewhere, it's like, hey, there's all these other calls holding, and, you know, how much time are we supposed to spend with this? And trying, but what's happened nationwide, and the courts have been really explicit with this, is they've told us, hey, it doesn't matter how much backlog you have or whatever, you need to spend as much time as you need to with this person in crisis to kind of solve the problem. You don't get to just force the issue and say, well, we're busy, we kind of had to just move things along.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. Well, I'm sure there'll be much more conversation to be had about that, just in terms of some of the city council discussions too, and they do talk about some of the homelessness issues. But good to know that officers are getting that kind of training. And
yeah, they are. And in fact, by the end of the year, we'll have a good majority of our people through it.
Great.
We also have an officer that is trained as an instructor.
oh, wow.
So, and it's a regionalized training. So when we go to it, other agencies are also going to it.
Yeah.
And we have an instructor on that panel.
Right, and that's good because you're obviously all sharing resources. A lot of times you end up in
Yeah.
calls in Terrace, and Linwood people come here, and so it's a regional approach.
Correct, yeah. So countywide, you know, an officer's going to have the same level of training.
Okay, well, good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll be back again soon with another episode of Ask the Edmonds Cop.